Today's been a pretty sticky and hot mess of a day, but I'm gonna push through and persevere because I want to talk about an anime that is actually gonna turn 5 years old this year once again. And it's an anime that I've actually shouted out recently on my best anime of 2020 video not too long ago, and that is Tonikaku Kawaii. Yes, Tonikaku Kawaii, an anime that I think a lot of people in the slice of life genre should know at this point, but I'm essentially going to break down why this show is a must watch anime, what I consider one of the most underrated animes to come out of 2020, and like what kind of followed after the first season of Tonikaku Kawaii to come out. So let's get into this journey as to why Tonikaku Kawaii is probably one of the most underrated anime of the genre to come out of recent memory. So once again, Tonikaku Kawaii, an anime that came out of the fall season of 2020, with some pretty big juggernauts that came out this around this time period, with the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, Haikyuu to the Top Part 2, even the dismal, disappointing season 3 of Dan Machi. There were some pretty big names here that I think if I keep scrolling down, you should know and have a bit of a memory to what came out in 2020 that year. And again, this was under 7 Arc Studios, a studio that really for its time when they were first came into the scene, they never really had an anime that stood out that really got the gears rolling for them. But it was really this show that really put them on the map in the first place, and as a result, gave us another classic show with the likes of Blue Period, an anime that to me when this came out back in 2021 was one of the most another underrated show to come out of that year. There's also the dismal, but what the hell did I just watch? Chain Soldier or Chain Slave or whatever. This one, to its credit, was not Seven Arcs' fault. I just thought that the story itself was pretty bad. It still is pretty bad to this day, unfortunately. But I digress. Before we got these shows, there was Tonikaku Kawaii. And this show, really, in my view, is, as I stated in my best anime of 2020 briefly, is one of the most unique slice of life experiences ever. Because again, the subject and where it all starts is about as typical as like your other slice of life cliches that you've seen over and over and over again. But with a little bit of a twist where it actually gets you hooked, really gets you excited for these characters. And immediately within the first couple episodes, you're hooked to me Nasakun, who is essentially the smart boy genius who basically is like the smartest man on earth. He's basically like Sheldon if Sheldon was a big jump from Big Bang Theory if he became an anime character, basically. And one day he come across a beautiful girl in the moonlight with Tsukasa Yuzaki or Tsukuyomi Tsukasa. And not much was known about her during the first few episodes, but to kind of sum up how they essentially meet up, Nasa basically confesses to her love to Tsukasa and just says that I want to get married. And Tsukasa's like, are you sure? And sure enough, they hitch it after Tsukasa saves Nasa from Truck-kun being killed and shit. And it then devolves into like the most I don't know how I would describe this, but from that point forward, it then revolves into like some of the most cliche slice of life anime tropes that's out there, but in a bit of a twist where there are moments where it actually breaks the fourth wall for at certain points of a certain episode. And there's even like some pretty big iconic moments where if you watch all your slice of life cliches, like this boy Nasakun can literally dodge every freaking angle from being dodged by Truck-kun to getting rejected by the bench, getting rejected by like the most typical background lace stuff that you see in slice of life. Like Nasakun basically is invincible in his first season. And in this first season, it's more or less been established that these two characters get married on paper, but they never officially tie the knot with a ring in a formal wedding. And basically, throughout these 12 episodes, it's just Nasakun and Tsukasa essentially trying to figure out how they want to get married, how they want to put the whole thing together, with the likes of some really cool and kooky friends that come along the way, from Kaname, which was Nasakun's childhood friend, to Aya, who is really weird, lazy, ditzy, and all around adds some like character and depth into the relationship between our two main characters. And then how could I forget, which I forgot to even pop up prior, Chitose, who who essentially is Chitose is the person that watches over Tsukasa. She's essentially like the mother of the whole thing between the two, and is like making sure that Tsukasa, or sorry, Nasa doesn't do anything harmful to Tsukasa, and she's basically the overprotective type. And in the final moments of this show, we kind of left off with a bit of a somewhat cliffhanger where we're kind of seeing like, okay, it seems like Sukasa isn't who she seems to be, and that there's a good chance that she might have lived way longer than we all initially thought, and that she may have lived like over hundreds of years because of a little meteorite that that the family of the Chisose family kind of held on for years, if I'm not mistaken. So you have those thoughts and those thought processes of the show really well, and then we go into like the slice of life aspects of the show. So, like I said, this show really dives into a lot of the typical slice of life anime tropes that you've seen over and over again. But what I love about the show and why I still hold the show in high regards to this day is it really shows cases what it's like to be in a brand new marriage, basically. Because I'm not gonna lie when I say this. I've seen kind of connected to personal life and what I've seen from my friends' perspective. I've seen a lot of friends where they get married at such a young age and they don't know what to do after they get married, or they kind of at first it seems like it's all happy go lucky, it's a happy ever ever story, but then it ends in a bit of like a divorce situation or just stripped. Now they're not going to be connected together. And in Tonikaku Kawaii, the anime itself, I get hints of like, man, I feel like this is what marriage should be, honestly, because there are moments in the show where you have Nasukun, who is essentially trying to do something special or have a gift presented to our main girl Sakasa, and it becomes the most heartwarming, heartfelt thing ever. On top of it, there are moments where, again, even something as simple as like doing the dishes, like, oh, I want to do the dishes, like, no, I want to do the dishes, or I want to cook and clean for you, I want to take you to a park, I want to take you to a trip to Osaka, for example. Like there's so many little details of like them just doing something, and it gives off a lot of weight and a lot of realism as to like, man, these are two characters that you really want to root for, that you want to continue this happy-go-lucky relationship, and you're hoping that nothing bad happens to them until the very end. Because believe me, I mean, this show also captures moments where there's some moments where the characters have self doubt towards each other, and there's moments where even the characters that kind of are part of the world are doing everything they can to maybe hey, we can't have these two falling in love and go lovey go do dovey type of shit. Like we gotta make sure we keep an eye on them. And those moments to me are like, man, it not only gives us such a captivating anime, but it gives you an anime that you're just hooked on till the very end. And what is funny about this show is that even though this show was definitely super high up on my best anime of 2020, I think the rest of the show, of the sequential sequels, I should say, from this point forward, I don't think really live up to the first season, in my opinion. Now, look, I want to be clear. I don't think that the show has fallen off completely ever since the first season. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But you have to understand that Tonikaku Kawaii's second season wouldn't come out till a couple years later. But during that time period, we would get like snippets of like OVAs and specials that came out past this point. From Tonikaku Kawaii SNS Over the Moon, which was essentially an episode about how Tsukasa gets a brand new smartphone, and and pretty much he doesn't know what to do with a smartphone, she doesn't know what to do with a smartphone, and it leads to like a lot of self doubt. Like, oh, is this person cheating on me? Is she cheating on me? And what's gonna happen? And honestly, this episode's super good because it really just reflects on like the whole social media cheating aspect stuff that's out there now, where you have a lot of people when the moment they start a social media platform, they have a brand new phone. The first assumption when you're in a relationship sometimes can be that they're instantly cheating, but in reality, if you have that true blue bond connection that was established from the first season prior, then there wouldn't be an issue whatsoever. And then we had a second special that came out, I believe, the following year with Over the Moon for You Uniform, which this one was like a fun, bad little special where it was just essentially Sukasa trying on a school uniform because Nasa thought that, oh yeah, if Sukasa wears a school uniform, it should be super hot and that should be turned on and such. And I think they did this one really well. I think this was a pretty fun, bad, really good show to really book it. And then eventually, once we got season two of the show to come out 2023, I felt that like while there were really some strong qualities of the show that were really good, that really does carry over to this season, I thought that there was something lacking in it that made me not like crazy about it this time around. And again, that's not to say that this show like became a disappointment. To be clear, the second season of the show when it came out 2023 was really good. I just thought that to me it wasn't up there with the same level of holy crap, this maybe let you think and really got you talking about it. And that's what made the first season special was that every moment of every passing episode, there's always like a subtle message that leaves you thinking and really gets you to ponder like, huh, man, maybe I should think about this and maybe do that whenever I'm in a relationship or if I'm in a marriage in this case. And that's what made the first season special. In the second season, I got those moments here and there, but it felt like fleeting moments. And there were moments where it felt a little bit rushed, unfortunately. And then while we did get another sequel with four more episodes to wrap up the Tonikaku Kawaii stuff with Over the Moon for You High School Days, which is again a little mini arc where it's about Nasukun now becoming a high school teacher for the time being, and he has to babysit a ton of high school kids, which somehow are absolutely gorgeous as hell. And honestly, this one was a really good show too to come out of the same year that the second season came out. And to me, this felt like a roll credits moment to the second season. So, uh, again, overall, Tonikawa Kawaii, the second season as a whole, was really good. I thought that this, to me, like if they added it into the second season, it would have been like to me, this would have probably been like an 8 out of 10 instead of what it is currently. But because of as it stands, I have to leave it how it is, just to clarify. So yeah, overall, Tony Kawaii Over the Moon for You is a must-watch anime. Again, I know that maybe I'm repeating the same talking points over and over again throughout this video, but I do say this with a lot of bluntness and such, and that is this show is once again really underrated, really a show that should have been talked about more and more as the show has progressed. And I think I'm gonna have to leave it at that, honestly, because there's not much more I can really say about the show to praise it enough as it stands. Again, the first season is amazing. The specials to come out past that point were also amazing. The second season is also still enjoyable, honestly. And ultimately, I think that this is probably the best the Summon Arc Studios it's probably gonna get because yes, while we did have shows like Blue Period come out past this point, and even Chain Soldier, which I wasn't crazy about, I just don't know if we're ever gonna get a third season of the show because they had some potential and something going for it with where the show was heading at. And I'll leave it at that. So yeah, just want to talk about this because I figured, with it being 5 years old this year, I think it's time I talk about something that I really do like once again. And shout out to Mark for suggesting to me to talk about this anime because hey, I figured I was gonna talk about this eventually, but I wanted to wait until the very end once I was done watching a lot of the shows I'm currently watching. But you know what? I'm gonna let it rip because this weekend for me is gonna be pretty busy. So just want to talk about it, and I'll see you on the next one later.